The candles flickered softly. Their light danced on the polished wood of the small dining table. Soft jazz music, a low hum like a contented sigh, drifted from unseen speakers. Amelia smiled, her eyes reflecting the tiny flames. Across from her, Ben reached out, his hand covering hers. The aroma in the air was rich, a promise of delicious things. It was a perfect evening, meticulously planned, carefully crafted. Everything was just so, from the crisp white tablecloth to the single rose in a slender vase, its petals the color of a deep blush. The gentle clinking of silverware was the only sound that punctuated the music for a moment. Their host, and indeed their chef for the night, was a creature of quiet precision. Mittens, a sleek black cat with eyes like polished emeralds, moved with an almost silent grace. He had overseen every detail of the meal. The salmon was poached to tender perfection, flaky and pink. The asparagus spears were bright green, glistening with a hint of butter and lemon. Mittens had even selected the wine, a crisp Sauvignon Blanc that shimmered in their glasses. He took his culinary duties very seriously, a furry maestro conducting an orchestra of flavors and scents, all for them. Amelia laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "Mittens, you've truly outdone yourself tonight," she said, her voice warm. Ben nodded in agreement, his gaze appreciative as he surveyed the scene. "He's a marvel, this cat of yours. Or perhaps our cat," he amended, squeezing her hand gently. Mittens, who had been observing from a plush velvet cushion in the corner, gave a slow blink. It was his version of a satisfied nod, a silent acceptance of their praise. He enjoyed their happiness, or so it seemed, basking in the glow of their contentment and his own successful efforts. The main course was cleared away with subtle efficiency by their feline attendant. He padded back and forth from the kitchen, a tiny silver tray somehow balanced, though no one ever quite saw how. Each movement was deliberate, unhurried. He was a creature of comfort and routine, yet tonight there was an extra flair in his step, a certain smugness in the flick of his tail. He had worked hard kneading the dough for the bread earlier, selecting the freshest herbs from the window box. His whiskers twitching with concentration, this dinner was his masterpiece, a testament to his devotion. Amelia leaned closer to Ben, her dark hair brushing his cheek. "This is wonderful," she whispered, her voice soft as velvet. Ben turned his head, his lips finding hers in a gentle kiss. Mittens watched from his cushion. His emerald eyes, usually bright with a playful spark, narrowed slightly. A strange feeling began to stir within his furry chest. He had prepared this meal, yet as they kissed, a deep possessive warmth began to curdle. Mittens' tail began to twitch. Why did their happiness suddenly feel like it excluded him so completely? The warmth he had felt for them moments ago was now being choked by a rising tide of something bitter and cold. With a silent leap, Mittens was off his cushion. He padded into the kitchen, his paws making no sound on the cool tiles. The remnants of the main course sat on the counter, but he ignored them. His mind was elsewhere, fixed on a new, terrible idea. He knew where everything was kept in this kitchen. He knew all its secrets. Hidden at the very back of the highest shelf behind a forgotten tin of ancient spice was a small dark vial. It had been there for years, untouched, a relic from a previous occupant, its contents a mystery, yet vaguely menacing. He scaled the shelves with an agility that belied his usually languid pace. His claws, usually sheathed, extended just enough to find purchase on the wooden edges. He reached the top shelf, his lithe body stretching. There it was, the small, dusty bottle. He nudged it carefully with his nose, then with a delicate paw, until it tipped into his grasp. He held it gently in his mouth, the cool glass foreign against his tongue. He landed back on the floor as silently as a shadow, the vial secure. His heart, if cats have hearts that beat with such human-like malice, thrummed a dark rhythm. The dessert was a rich chocolate mousse, a confection he had prepared earlier. It sat in 2 elegant glass bowls, swirled to perfection, waiting for its final garnish of a single perfect raspberry. Mittens placed the vial on the counter. With a surgeon's precision, he uncorked it using his teeth and a clever twist of his paw. A faint, almost undetectable odor escaped, quickly lost in the sweet scent of chocolate. He tilted the vial ever so slightly over one bowl, then the other. Just a drop. A tiny, potent tear of liquid darkness into each serving. He stirred it in with the tip of his tail, a subtle, almost invisible motion. He then licked his tail clean, a meticulous, ordinary gesture that now seemed utterly sinister. He placed a bright red raspberry atop each mound of mousse. They looked beautiful, innocent, irresistibly tempting. A low, almost silent chuckle rumbled in his chest, a sound unlike his usual happy purrs. It was a dry, rasping sound full of a dark satisfaction. He had made a choice. If he could not be the sole recipient of their complete adoration, then perhaps things needed to change, drastically. He was ready to serve the final course. Mittens returned to the dining room, the 2 bowls of mousse balanced perfectly on his little silver tray. He placed them on the table with a soft clink, then looked up at Amelia and Ben, a picture of feline innocence. He even managed a small, contented meow, as if to say, "Enjoy." Amelia clapped her hands softly. "Oh, Mittens, it looks divine. You are simply too clever." Ben smiled, picking up his spoon. "He certainly is. What would we do without him?" he said, his voice full of warmth for both his partner and their extraordinary cat. They each took a spoon, admiring the rich, dark chocolate. "To us," Amelia said, raising her spoon in a mock toast. "To us," Ben echoed, his eyes crinkling at the corners as he smiled at her. They dipped their spoons into the mousse. Then, with a playful gesture, Amelia offered her spoon to Ben. He leaned forward and took the bite, his eyes closing in appreciation of the flavor. "Delicious," he murmured. He then reciprocated, feeding Amelia a spoonful of the creamy dessert. She savored it, a blissful expression on her face. For a moment, everything was perfect again, just like before. Then Amelia's eyes widened. She made a small choking sound. Her hand flew to her throat. Saliva trickled from the corner of her mouth. Her blissful expression turned to one of confusion, then dawning horror. "Ben!" she gasped, her voice a strangled whisper. Ben, alarmed, stood up so quickly his chair scraped loudly against the floor. "Amelia, what is it?" he cried, reaching for her. But as he moved, a sharp, searing pain shot through his own chest. He stumbled, his legs suddenly weak, his vision blurring at the edges. He clutched at the table for support, but his strength was failing. He collapsed, falling heavily beside Amelia, who was now convulsing silently. From the kitchen doorway, a pair of luminous green eyes watched. Mittens was peeking around the frame, his body hidden, only his gleeful, terrible face visible. A low, evil chuckle, no longer silent, but a distinct, chilling sound escaped his throat. It was a sound of pure, unadulterated triumph. The romantic dinner had reached its dramatic, horrifying conclusion, orchestrated perfectly by its jealous, feline chef. His work was done. He had them all to himself now, in a way.